Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another Mad Meta Magic where we try to make the magic meta mad. Now, I have here a Monowhite Yorion taxes list. I don't know if that technically counts as jank, but it looks like jank to me. Monowhite Death and Taxes is a deck. I have never seen an 80 card variant of Monowhite, though. So I'm interested to see if the addition of Yorion in the side is worth the additional inconsistency in the main deck. Because my biggest problem while playing this deck is like not having Aether Vial hands. And it seems like, well, I mean, playing any version of Taxes, I have a problem drawing Aether Vials. Not in my opener, and then always top decking a bunch of them late game. And it just seems like to me that this would be more likely. However, it might be counterbalanced by the fact that Batterskull, Sword of Feast and Famine, and Sword of Fire and Ice are much less likely to be drawn, because you have Stoneforge Mystic, and Maul of the Skyclaves even. You're not as likely to draw your equipments, so maybe that makes Stoneforge Mystic a lot better. I don't know. We're going to run it through a league and see how we do. Alright, I will see you all in round one. Alrighty, round one, here we go. We are on the draw for round one. Now, I'm not the best Death and Taxes player, but we have a turn one and a turn two and like a Ghost Quarter turn three play, so I think this hand's probably keepable. We do need to draw another white source to play our Skyclave Apparitions. I'm gonna pop this out and set it over here so I don't forget about it. Just kind of set him ominously peeking at my behind my shoulder. So we'll start Sunbaked Canyon into a Giver of Runes, pass the turn. When it plays a mountain into a Conspicuous Snoop with a Bloodstained Mire on top of our deck. So let's play a Tectonic Edge, and we'll play Leon and Arbiter. Pass the turn. Okay, opponent draws Bloodstained Mire. Plays Bloodstained Mire. Plays a Conspicuous Snoop. Alright. Opponent passes... Oh, I was going to say, they're not attacking. We untap. We draw an Archon of Emeria. Do we go for the Ghost Quarter, or do we go for the Field? I think I'm going to go for the Field play here. So play a Field of Ruin. Activate on Shatterskull the Hammer Pass. Alright, opponent is top decking a Bloodchief's Thirst. They have an Auntie's Hovel on top of their deck, but they cannot pay to fetch Bloodstained Mire, and they do not currently have black mana. Kind of liking what's happening so far. Maybe not. Bloodchief's Thirst on Giver of Runes. We'll give Leon and Arbiter protection from red. Okay, opponent passes. We untap. Now we can either play a Skyclave Apparition, a Mind Sensor, an Archon of Emeria, or activate Ghost Quarter. Technically, we could put Yorion in her hand as well. I kind of like letting my opponent play Auntie's Hovel. And if that's the case, I really like playing out Archon of Emeria. So I'm going to try doing that. Pass the turn. So my opponent draws a Munitions Expert, which they can play off the top of their deck, but they can only play one spell. I guess they could kill Archon of Emeria with that. They're going to kill Leon and Arbiter. Fair enough. Opponent cannot cast any more spells this turn. Auntie's Hovel enters the battlefield tapped. We untap. We draw Winds of Abandon. So, play Ghost Quarter. And I think we Skyclave Apparition Conspicuous Snoop. Just so that my opponent doesn't like randomly get the infinite combo, we start having to deal with these. Go to combat. We'll attack for 2 in the air. Opponent probably fetches with Bloodstained Mire now. Okay. They fetch up a Blood Crypt, Aether Vial on top of their deck, which is mostly a dead draw. They get a Goblin Matron. I could have Ghost Quartered them on their draw step to shuffle away Goblin Matron, but it's kind of dangerous because my opponent could find a way to get Kiki Jiki, and then just kill us with Conspicuous Snoop. Opponent gets a Boggart Harbinger, plays Cavern on Goblin, goes to combat, does nothing. We draw Plains, play Plains, and play another Skyclave Apparition, kill Snoop, go to combat, attack for 2. I'm probably going to overload this Winds of Abandon, but I would like to get an Aven Mind Sensor down if I can first. So we know our opponent has a Boggart Harbinger in hand. They play a Blackcleave Cliffs tapped. They play the Harbinger, and they are going to reveal Kiki Jiki and put Kiki Jiki on top of their deck. We untap, we draw Giver of Runes. So we cannot overload Winds of Abandon, but we can Winds of Abandon to force our opponent to shuffle. It's not a May search. Yeah, okay. Cast Winds of Abandon on Harbinger as a R spell for the turn. So they no longer have a Kiki Jiki, they no longer have a Harbinger. Go to combat, attack for 2. Didn't really do a good job of keeping him off lands this game, I don't think. So on our opponent's turn, we will probably flash in Aven Mind Sensor somewhere. Okay, flash in Mind Sensor. Harbinger can only search the top 4 cards of their deck. They find Kiki Jiki again, so that's a problem. We untap, we draw Ghost Quarter. So I think what I'm going to do is sack Canyon, draw card, go to combat, attack for 4 in the air. Opponent takes 4. They have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 red sources, and we can only Ghost Quarter 3 lands. So our opponent will have exactly enough mana to Kiki Jiki. Alright, sure. Hit Blackcleave Cliffs. Ghost Quarter, Blood Crypt. See if our opponent searches. Doesn't appear as though they do. Play Ghost Quarter. Alright, so if they have another land in hand... should say fails to find down here. I'm covering it up right now, but... they fail to find a basic land. Nice. Opponent plays a mountain. Plays another Goblin Matron. Gets a Goblin Matron. Passes. We untap and draw Maul of the Skyclaves. Play a Plains. And we're just going to suit up one of the Skyclave Apparitions and hit them for 8 in the air. And they are now at 1. They're holding a Goblin Matron and 2 unknowns. We have 3 lethal attackers. Alright, we got there. So versus our opponent's deck, I actually think we want Phyrexian Revokers and perhaps Forge Tenders. I don't know how much they play sideboard that, like for red removal. My opponent's entire deck is basically creatures from what I understand. Let me see if I can find a list really quick of mono red. Or I mean not mono red, but Rakdos, Goblins. They play Goblin Crater Baker. They have 1 Tarfire in the main deck. Maybe we don't bring in Forge Tender. I think Revoker is fine, just naming Conspicuous Snoop or whatever. Conspicuous Snoop, Kiki Jiki, Sling Gang, or Krenko, depending. What do we go down for these Revokers? I think we drop Spellskites and maybe like a Mind Sensor. You know what? I'm only going to bring in 3 because I don't know what else to cut. Why did I cut Mind Sensor? My opponent searches their deck all the time. Literally any amount of search hate is going to be good. We're on the draw this time. So, reveal Yorion. This hand is not particularly good. I'm gonna mulligan. Alright, maybe I can work with this. We're gonna put back Restoration Angel. My opponent is playing Shatter Skull Smashing as a land, so Flicker Wisp could potentially get some real value. We'll start Plains Aether Vial. Opponent starts Arid Mesa Fetch. Blood Crypt tapped. Alright, pass the turn. They play a Mountain into a Snoop. Munitions Expert on top. So Aether Vial, always yield to... We will tick it up. We draw Tectonic Edge. So play Field of Ruin. Pass the turn. Opponent flashes in Munitions Expert off the top. Has it target itself. They draw Goblin Matron. Fatal Push on top of their deck. They play an Auntie's Hovel, revealing Goblin Matron, so they can leave up Fatal Push. I think I am going to path this, just because it is a pain. Okay. We untap. Aether Vial ticking up. Draw Plains. So... Play a Plains, and... Guess we'll play Skyclave Apparition. Take out the Munitions Expert. Alright, pass the turn. Really wish we were holding a Leonin Arbiter. Opponent plays a land. Plays Goblin Matron. Gets to tutor. Another Munitions Expert. Plays it. Shoots down the Skyclave Apparition. They get an Illusion. Passes. We untap. Aether Vial ticking up to 3. Draw another Field of Ruin. Play Sunbaked Canyon. Put Yorion in our hand. Pass the turn. We'll probably Vial in Flicker Wisp just to deal with the Illusion. Though I think my opponent is holding a Fatal Push. I don't know if we pathed that away or not. Opponent plays Palashik Mons. No sack outlet. They go to combat. They attack for 2. Vial in the Wisp. Blink the token. Okay, opponent gets back nothing. We untap. Aether Vial, staying on 3. Draw Plains. Let's go ahead and cracked Sunbaked Canyon. Draw another Plains. Go to combat. How many basics do they play? 3 mountains, 1 swamp. Alright. So we'll hit them for 3 in the air. And I'm going to play Field. Pass the turn. Opponent untaps. Not super happy with the fact that our Flicker Wisp is in like immediate death zone due to Palashik Mons existing. Okay, opponent goes to combat. Attacks for 2. Then passes. We untap. Aether Vial not ticking up. Oh man. We need to stop drawing planes. Play Tectonic Edge. Go to combat. Attack for 3. Take our opponent down to 13 and pass. I think my opponent thinks I have another Flicker Wisp. So they sack Munitions Expert to get 1 damage and 2 creature tokens. I'm gonna field Blood Crypt because they didn't play a land last turn. We'll get a Plains. And I think they're out of basics. I guess I could be pretty wrong here. Yep, they're out of basics. So Winds of Abandon and Path to Exile and Further Ghost Quarters are just straight up strip mines. Alright. Looks like we might be dying to a Goblin Chieftain. I was going to say, is opponent still afraid to attack with Palashik Mons? We take a lot. Opponent plays a Blood Crypt tapped. We untap. Aether Vial staying on 3. That is not what we needed to draw. Play 0 value Yorion. Exiling no permanents. Play Aether Vial. Pass the turn. 4 mana is probably a ringleader. Once again, I am no Death and Taxes expert. But I think the fact that we drew this many lands, probably not ideal. Alright, moving on to game 3. Yeah, even Mind Sensor's back in. Don't actually think I want the Revokers. Still don't really need the Spell Skites, so we'll just throw it back like that. Alright, we'll play first. Reveal Yorion. And we have a Giver of Runes into Stoneforge Mystic into presumably Leon and Arbiter Ghost Quarter. So we are going to keep this. Start Plains Giver. Pass the turn. I would like to draw a non-Ghost Quarter land. When it plays a Bloodstained Mire, cracks it immediately. May find a Blood Crypt untapped. And kill Giver. We untap and draw Winds of Abandon, so... Stoneforge Mystic, we're going to go get Batterskull. Pass the turn. Just putting a Batterskull into play would be fairly nice. When it plays a Goblin Crater or reveals a Goblin Crater Maker and plays a Goblin Crater Maker. We untap. We draw an Arbiter. Play Arbiter. Pass the turn. Crater Maker would just immediately detonate to kill Batterskull, and I don't think I want that to happen. I would really like to draw lands. Opponent plays a Blackcleave Cliffs into a Munitions Expert, so they can kill both of our creatures here if they want. Opponent will probably attack with Crater Maker and sack before we untap with Stoneforge, or not. We draw even Mind Sensor. Still no lands. So what can we actually do? We can put Batterskull into play, we can put Sword of Feast and Famine into play, or we can play Arbiter, or we could play Winds of Abandon. Not a huge fan of Winds of Abandon. Alright, we're going to try Leon and Arbiter. Kind of expect my opponent will give up on Crater Maker for this, but they also might not need to. Okay. They kill Leon and Arbiter, which makes Batterskull and Sword kind of live again. Second Munitions Expert kills Stoneforge Mystic. Not too thrilled about that. Opponent gets in for 1. We untap. We draw a Path. Can't say that I'm a fan. Pass the turn. Opponent plays a Bloodstained Mire into a Goblin Matron, revealing another Munitions Expert. Okay. Well, I think we're going to lose this on the back of not drawing lands, but... Yep. Alright, pass. Opponent cracks Bloodstained Mire. Finds a Blood Crypt tapped. Opponent plays a Goblin Chieftain, which is getting immediately pathed. I really can't allow that to stick around, unfortunately. I have to give my opponent more mana. So they attack for 3. We draw Sunbaked Canyon. Play Sunbaked Canyon. Pass the turn, and I think we're going to flash in even Mind Sensor. Opponent has removal with flash in the form of Munitions Expert, but opponent reveals Kiki-Jiki. Plays Kiki-Jiki, goes to combat, attacks for 3, sure. So we're going to flash in even Mind Sensor. Opponent will clone Goblin Matron in response. I should have done this on their second main. Or not. Okay, opponent uses up Kiki-Jiki to kill Aven Mind Sensor. We untap. Draw planes. I think it's a little late, though. So, Winds of Abandon, Kiki. And we're getting hit for 3 this turn, unless my opponent has a Lord. If we top deck... I was going to say, if we top deck a land, we could play Batterskull, but my opponent will be able to play their other Munitions Expert they're still holding. Oh, they have Krenko Mob Boss. So they play Krenko. That's got to get Apparitioned. Okay, we only have 3 drops in hand, and the odds that we draw a 1-drop is pretty low. I should have Forge Tenders in here, because I forgot about these Munitions Experts. So this was just bad sideboarding on my part, in addition to drawing nothing for a very long time. So play a Plains, play Apparition, kill Mob Boss, pass the turn. Opponent will flash in their Munitions Expert, killing our guy. And I think if we draw a land and play Batterskull... Nope, never mind, because it's a 4-4. For some reason I was like, oh, it's going to be a 2-2 illusion. Yeah, that's not the case. That's not how that card works, Kano. Alright, well, we learned something, and that lesson is draw lands when you need them. And don't draw lands when you don't. But that tends to be my experience with Death and Taxes a lot of the time. And I know that there are, like... I want to stress that I am by no means a Death and Taxes expert. I do not know the mulligan patterns. I do not know what are good hands to keep. I just kind of understand what things in the deck are powerful and what you can do that's powerful. But... Alright, round 2. Here we go. Reveal Yorion. Alright, we got some Stoneforge Mystics. We're versus Lurrus. I'm going to keep this hand. I would really prefer if we had some paths, but I don't want to mulligan a hand with this many playable cards in it. Opponent plays Obero, passes. Draw land, okay. Play Plains, pass the turn. So is this either... This is Grixis, perhaps? Polluted Delta fetches Swamp. This is Lurrus Mill. Well, we're a Yorion deck, so we got that going for us. Play a Plains. Play Stoneforge Mystic. Tutor up Batterskull. Pass the turn. Opponent Archive traps us. Opponent Bloodchief's Thirsts. Stoneforge. We untap. Draw Archon of Emeria. Play a Plains. Play Archon. Pass the turn. Interesting that the mill deck is playing me Kokoro. We untap. We draw Field of Ruin. So... play Field of Ruin. Go to combat. Attack for 2. And we're going to play Spellskite this turn. Okay. Opponent's turn. On our end step, they make us draw. They untap. They Fatal Push Spellskite. Okay. They pass to our turn. We draw Plains. Play a Plains. I'm going to try Sword Equip. Opponent has used 2 Fatal Push effects. They have to fetch up a basic land if they crack Polluted Delta, or they can't do anything with the mana. Untapped mana lets us field or Mind Sensor next turn. Alright. Archon of Emeria. Gets in, wielding a Sword of Feast and Famine. Opponent cracks Polluted Delta, gets a basic island. Makes us draw. Okay. They have to discard. And we untap our lands. They discard Drown in the lock. Opponent plays Mesmeric Orb. And passes. Okay, I think it's worth Mind Censoring here still. So play Mind Sensor. We untap. Mill 4. Draw another Field of Ruin. Play Field. Play Arbiter. Put Yorion into our hand. Go to combat. Attack for 4. Okay, they have to discard, and we untap our mana. I could have floated mana if I wanted to field me Kokoro here. But I kind of don't want to activate field because of Archive Trap. Actually, I can just activate field and then not pay for Arbiter. Okay, my opponent pays for Arbiter. So we field me Kokoro, they get to search. We do not get to search because we didn't pay. Pass the turn. Opponent mills and extirpate. And concedes. Nice. So I expect we're going to get Crypt Incursioned, so I kind of want Rest in Peace. Spellskite's useful versus their removal. Path is really not. Like, Path is nice for hitting the crabs, because the crabs could be pretty devastating. But, like, we should probably just run them over with creatures, I imagine. So run it back. Reveal Yorion. Alright, I like Aether Vial into Rest in Peace. That way we don't get Crypt Incursioned. Opponent is on the play, though, and they start Watery Grave tapped. We draw Flicker Wisp, so Vial on 3 is going to be good for us. Play Vial. Pass the turn. 2 mana. Opponent plays Mesmeric Orb. So we mill. Always yield to Aether Vial. We're not going to always yes, though. So take up Aether Vial. Draw Sunbaked Canyon. Play a Plains. Rest in Peace. Okay. Opponent's turn. They exile Archive Trap and Bloodchief's Thirst. Guess I probably shouldn't care too much about what they're exiling. They fetch and shock Watery Grave. Play another Mesmeric Orb. So we untap, we mill a bunch of stuff. We will take up Aether Vial. Draw Arbiter. Play Sunbaked Canyon. We could play out an Archon here. But I think I'm fine leaving up Aven Mind Sensor Flash. Opponent mills some cards. They're going to feed the Swarm our Rest in Peace. And lose life. Okay. So on our opponent's end step, Violin Arbiter. And I am going to take the mill and just flash in Mind Sensor. Opponent pushes Arbiter. Mind Sensor enters the battlefield. We untap, we mill a bunch. We will put a charge counter on it to bring it up to 3. Draw Sunbaked Canyon. Play Sunbaked Canyon. Go to combat. Attack for 2. Take our opponent down to 13. Opponent untaps, mills a bunch. Plays a tap land. Passes. Violin Flicker Wisp. Exiling a Mesmeric Orb. And I think I am going to sack a Sunbaked Canyon to draw. They're going to push Mind Sensor. Okay. We draw Plains. Untap. We mill 2. We will not use Aether Vial's ability. Draw Thalia. Play Plains. Play Thalia. Go to combat. Attack for 3. Get our opponent down to 10. Okay, we'll give our opponent back their Mesmeric Orb. Pass the turn. Its opponent mills a bunch. They get to draw. The moment our opponent casts a sorcery, I'm going to Violin Archon. Because now they can't play any other spells this turn. Okay. We untap. Mill a ton. Gosh, that was kind of messy. We draw another Aether Vial that I'm probably not even going to play. Go to combat. Attack for 5. I could put Yorion in my hand this turn, but I don't want to mill myself any more than I already am right now. Opponent goes to 5. Opponent casts a Visions of Beyond, so Ancestral Recall. They untap and mill a lot. Opponent Drown in the Locks Archon. Then plays a Hedron Crab. They mill us with the crab. And I'm going to sack Sunbaked Canyon to try and draw something. Draw Rest in Peace. Untap, mill 2, or mill 4 because we had Aether Vial. Yep. Aether Vial, going to stay on 3. Draw Skyclave Apparition. So play Rest in Peace. Opponent casts a Visions of Beyond first. Oh, that kind of sucks, but it's not the game. It's not game over, really. Okay, exile the Graves. So there's no more Crypt Incursion shenanigans and no more Visions of Beyond, which was really what I was trying to prevent, but my opponent did have another one. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and just Vial in Skyclave Apparition right now to prevent our opponent from getting any more mills in with Hedron Crab. It also means that if they have a single removal spell, we have another lethal creature. Yeah. Awesome. We won the match. Alright, well I'm going to restart the client and I'll see you guys in round 3. Alright, here we go, round 3. We'll play first, reveal Yorion. It's a fun thing to say, Yorion. This hand is a little bit slow. I'm gonna mulligan. I like this hand a lot more, so I'm gonna keep, and we're gonna put back a Plains. So start by playing a Plains, play Aether Vial, pass the turn. Opponent plays a Hollowed Fountain. Oh man, is it Yorion v Yorion? Take up Aether Vial to 1. Play a Plains. Pass the turn. Opponent plays a Field of Ruin. Okay, on our opponent's end step, we'll go ahead and put in a Giver of Runes. Untap. Take up Aether Vial to 2. We draw Winds of Abandon. Pass the turn. Alright. Opponent plays a Glacial Fortress. They're going to oust Giver of Runes. At this point, I do not want to draw Giver of Runes again. I think I'm going to path my own Giver. Get a Plains. Oust Fizzles. We untap. Aether Vial ticks up to 3. Draw Flicker Wisp. Put Yorion in her hand and pass the turn. So opponent untaps, plays a Castle Vantress, and passes. Violin Flicker Wisp. Take away a Hollowed Fountain. Opponent is going to gain control of our Aether Vial. Alright. So now we're going to play Skyclave Apparition, take out our own Aether Vial, and then if they kill our Skyclave Apparition, we get a Illusion. Play Giver. Pass the turn. Opponent gets back their Hallowed Fountain. They untap. So are they a control deck then if they're playing Oust and Archmage's Charm? Probably means we should be on the lookout for Wraths and counter spells and stuff. Which will be really annoying. Okay, so opponent plays a Misty Rainforest and fetches Island. Plays Narset, Parter of Veils. Reveals Confounding Conundrum. So no, this is still like the Yorion Taxes deck, isn't it? Draw Ghost Quarter. Play Ghost Quarter. Go to combat. Do we kill Narset? Yeah, I think we do. Play Yorion. Opponent has a mana leak. Okay. Pass the turn. Opponent plays a Jace the Mind Sculptor. Brainstorms. I would really like to draw Leonin Arbiter. Okay, opponent plays a Scalding Tarn, cracks it, gets an island. Yeah, it looks like this is a control deck that's using Confounding Conundrum in the main. Wonder if this deck's any good. It's kind of like a mini Battle of Wits. I respect it. We draw Archon of Emeria. Play Archon. Go to combat. Kill Jace, hit our opponent. Okay. Opponent untaps. I mean, if they have a Wrath, we're just toast, but opponent opts. So that's the only spell they can cast this turn. They put Yorion into their hand. So we know they're holding Yorion. They play a Plains. They pass, we untap and draw. Sword of Fire and Ice. Play Sword. Yeah, that kind of strikes me as a must counter too. Go to combat. Hit them for 7. Opponent goes to 4. They untap. Opponent plays Yorion. Well, right now we have lethal. So opponent needs Yorion as a blocker and a removal spell. So Winds of Abandon here in our hand should clinch the victory here. Opponent spell snares. Alright, go to combat. Attack. And the game is over. Nice. So versus a 80 card control deck, I guess we want the Aven Mind Sensors. We might want the Rest in Peace. I think Winds of Abandon is significantly worse than Path, and we're just going to run it back like this. Alright, another fast Aether Vial start. I like it. Biggest issue is if my opponent is playing Spell Pierce right now. Okay, second land makes this hand a lot more keepable. Play Aether Vial, pass. Opponent plays another island. Confounding Conundrum. Okay. Aether Vial ticks up to 1. Draw Skyclave Apparition. Play Thalia. Pass the turn. Opponent untaps. They play Misty. They crack Misty. Get a Hallowed Fountain untapped. And pass. We are going to Vial in Giver of Runes. Untap. Aether Vial. Always yield. We will tick it up. We draw Plains. Play a Plains. Go to combat. Attack for 2. Okay, opponent goes down to 15. Yep, think we just pass here. We can Violin Spellskite in response to removal. Opponent cycles a Shark Typhoon X1. Sure. They get a Shark. They untap. Opponent plays a Flooded Strand, cracks Flooded Strand. Gets a Plains. Opponent plays Skyclave Apparition. Sure. So they target Aether Vial. We Violin Spellskite. Redirect Skyclave Apparition's ability to Spellskite. Then give Spellskite Pro White. Excellent. Expertly navigated, I believe. Now I could path Skyclave Apparition here. I don't think there's a reason to yet. We untap. Aether Vial. Ticking up to 3. We draw another Giver of Runes. Go to combat. Attack for 2. Hit our opponent down to 12. And I think we are going to overextend into a Wrath just a little bit. Because Archon of Emeria means they have to have a basic land if they want 5 mana for a Wrath. Which does very much limit their options. But it plays a Field of Ruin. They cannot play a Wrath. Okay. Opponent plays a Timely Reinforcements. Okay. Question is, do we use Skyclave Apparition here to exile Confounding Conundrum or like Skyclave Apparition? I'm gonna go with yes. They're playing like they have a Wrath, but it could just be like a big Planeswalker. We're gonna leave Vial on 3. I almost clicked yes. Okay, we draw another Skyclave Apparition. Go to combat. Attack with everybody who makes sense to attack with. They have to triple block Thalia if they want to kill her. Or they have to double block Skyclave Apparition. So we can protect Skyclave Apparition here, giving Pro White. Opponent takes 4, loses tokens. Then we pass. We're still safe from single target removal because of Spellskite. We can see what 5 mana thing they were trying to cast last turn. That's what I thought. Okay. So we're going to path one of our own creatures, I think. Well, no, we should probably save path. Well, yeah, we should probably save path. Opponent is going to get a 3 mana token, or a 3/3 token, I mean. I could even path that. Wrath is kind of unfortunate, but I am glad I made that attack. Opponent plays a Polluted Delta. Violin Skyclave Apparition. Exile Confounding Conundrum. Untap. Vial. Not going to use its ability. We draw Thalia. So, play Thalia. Play Giver. Pass the turn. We rebuilt our board pretty quickly. Opponent cracks Polluted Delta. Gets a Hollowed Fountain. Untaps. Draws a card. Plays Mystic Sanctuary. Putting Supreme Verdict on top of their deck. Okay, that's annoying. I hope they can't draw it this turn, and I really hope they can't draw it and play it. They play Teferi Time Raveler. They bounce Aether Vial. Untap. Draw even Mind Sensor. The problem is Path and Ghost Quarter can both force our opponent to search. Well, they can't force our opponent to search. Neither one can force our opponent to search. But we'd really like them to. Go to combat. Attack our opponent. Attack Teferi. Give Thalia Pro Blue, I guess. Okay, opponent kills our Skyclave Apparition. Gets a 2/2, and honestly, I think just replaying Aether Vial here is going to be better. Okay, opponent has a mana leak, so life is terrible. Can't take them off of white. Don't really want to go down a land when we're holding a path. Yeah, I think I flubbed this one up pretty hard. So opponent draws Supreme Verdict. Plays another white land. Adds Yorion to their hand. Attacks us for 2. We untap. We draw Leonin Arbiter. Pass the turn. Actually... yeah, pass the turn. Opponent activates Castle to scry 2. They untap. They play a new Teferi. This is annoying. So they're holding Yorion, Wrath, one unknown. God, there's like no universe where we can do anything about this. Guess we'll give Thalia Pro Blue. When it goes to combat, passes. We untap, draw Giver, replay Giver, and pass. Yeah, we're definitely in the point in the game where the control deck has taken over, and we've been here for a while. I know I'm kind of stating the obvious, but okay. Now I'm comfortable conceding. Do we want Rest in Peace because they have Mystic Sanctuary? I don't think so, but I actually kind of want a Winds of Abandon in the deck. At least just one. Alright, let's try this again. We would like to play first. Reveal Yorion. Good hand, please. One that disrupts mana very hard. I think we have better 6s than the 7. I think this will do. We'll keep... We're going to put back a Plains. Now, we'd really like to draw Ghost Quarter or Field. Either one would be quite good. Play Aether Vial. Pass the turn. Opponent starts Scalding Tarn. Passes. Aether Vial, ticking up. We draw another Aether Vial. Play another Aether Vial. Play a Plains, pass the turn. We can keep 1 on 2 and put 1 on 3. Opponent plays a Hallowed Fountain tapped. I hope their second land's also a fetch land they don't crack immediately. That would be great. Alright, now don't crack it at me. Aww. Get an island. And they pass. So... yes. Yes. And we draw... Field of Ruin. Perfect. Play field. Pass the turn. Opponent opts. We're going to go for it. Violin Arbiter. Activate field. They have a path. They do not have a path. Opponent gets to opt. They did not draw a path either. So 8 cards in hand. Opponent plays a Plains. Ousts Leonin Arbiter. We untap. Say yes to Aether Vial. Say yes to Aether Vial. Draw Sunbaked Canyon. Play Sunbaked Canyon. Pass the turn. Now we can play both Flicker Wisp and Aven Mind Sensor. I could have also put Yorion in my hand there, but I kind of think I want to play both of these. So opponent plays an island. And is now passing. Vile Flicker Wisp. Take away their Plains. Opponent paths Flicker Wisp. Okay. Get a Plains. Cast Mind Sensor. Alright, untap. No. No. We draw Winds of Abandon. Sack Sunbaked Canyon. We draw Archon of Emeria. Go to combat. Attack for 2. Hit our opponent down to 16 and pass. They get back their planes. Opponent's turn, they play field. We are going to try and violin Archon, I think. Untap. No and no. We draw Batterskull. That is not really a good draw here. So go to combat. Attack our opponent for 4. They're going to cycle Shark Typhoon X2. So if this was a path, we'd feel a lot better, but it's not because I decided at the last minute to switch out one path for 1 Winds of Abandon. I guess I'll regret that then. Alright, they trade with Aven Mind Sensor. They take 2 from Archon of Emeria. We'll go ahead and put Yorion in her hand. Maybe we start ticking up the Aether Vial on 2 to 5 just to play Yorion. Who knows? Opponent plays Teferi, Time Raveler. Probably bounces a Vial. They do. They're looking for a land. They found it. We need to keep them off of white mana as much as possible, because that's how they cast Wraths. So tick up Aether Vial, we draw Sword of Fire and Ice. Go to combat. Attack Teferi. Play out Sword. Pass the turn. 5 mana for Big Teferi. They gotta tuck Archon, I think. Yep. Man, if we had another 3-drop, we could totally punish them for this, but we do not. Untap. Aether Vial, staying on... We draw Resto, which we can't play. Oh, yeah, I think this game's over now. Maybe I should have been ticking up Aether Vial, but, like... Oh, I don't know. Okay, opponent upticks Teferi. They play Polluted Delta. Yep. Unfortunately, I think my opponent had the answers this game. Alright. Opponent is going to Fate Seal us. And if we draw a 3-drop, if it was a 3-drop and underneath was the Archon, we should be okay. Like, maybe have a chance at coming back? I don't know. We will not tick up Aether Vial. We will tick up this one. Okay, we draw Archon. So, Vial in, Archon. Suit it up. Oh man, do we actually... Are we still in the game? We might still be in the game. I don't know why my camera loses focus. But if I go in and I uncheck autofocus and then I recheck autofocus, it fixes it. That's weird. I mean, if my opponent just, like, has a Wrath here, we're done. Absolutely done. No coming back from this. Opponent upticks Teferi. Plays a land. Cracks Polluted Delta. Gets a Mystic Sanctuary tapped. Oh, that's right! Oh, they may have been relying on getting a Path or an Oust. That'd be really funny. Opponent brainstorms. I think we attack their face. Oh, they found the Path. I mean, maybe we put the sword on Arresto now? Opponent puts Yorion in their hand, okay. Well, we untap. We will be ticking up both Aether Vials. Opponent gets to untap 2 lands. Okay, yes. Okay, yes. Now we draw Aven Mind Sensor. Activate Aether Vial. Use its ability. Put in Resto. Suit up Resto. Pass the turn. Opponent has Snapcaster Path. Alright. Yeah. Yeah, we're good. Opponent's got us. Unfortunately. Alright. I'll see you guys in round 4. Alrighty, round 4, here we go. Reveal Yorion. I think we have better openers than this one. Earliest play turn 3 is not really how you want to start. Maybe. I'll try keeping this, I guess. Opponent starts Ghost Quarter, Aether Vial. So it looks like the mirror match, really. We draw Resto, play Aether Vial. Pass the turn. Opponent ticks up Aether Vial to 1. Plays a Sunbaked Canyon into a Stoneforge Mystic. You got it. Revealing a Batterskull. So we tick up Aether Vial, play a Plains, play Stoneforge Mystic, and we will go get... Do we get Batterskull too? Or do we get Sword of Feast and Famine? I think we get Batterskull as well. So opponent untaps, Aether Vial ticking up. Opponent plays a Snow-Covered Plains and passes. We untap, Aether Vial ticks up. We draw a Tectonic Edge, so play a Plains. Pass the turn. Standoff is getting a little awkward. Opponent puts a Batterskull into play on our end step. So on our opponent's turn, they take up Aether Vial to 3, play a land, go to combat, attack with Batterskull, put our own Batterskull into play. Opponent vials in a 3-drop, it's a Flicker Wisp. They're going to hit the token. I'm going to path our own token. Get a Plains. So opponent is going to hit us for 4. Opponent plays an Arbiter. We untap, Aether Vial going up to 3. Draw Skyclave Apparition. Do we just suit up with Batterskull? I think we might. Play Tectonic Edge. Try equipping Batterskull. Okay. Go to combat. Opponent sacks Sunbaked Canyon. Attack for 5. Opponent does not block. We gain 5, they go to 18, we go up to 21. Okay, opponent untaps. Oh, I should have taken out probably their Aether Vial. They leave Aether Vial on 3. They play Field. They go to combat, attack for 3 in the air. They play Thalia. Activate Vial, put in Skyclave Apparition. Take out Aether Vial. Untap. Do we put Aether Vial on 4? No, I think we keep it on 3. Okay, we draw Path. Activate Tech Edge. Opponent is ignoring their ability to search. Okay, go to combat. Attack for 5. Blocks with the Germ token. Blocks with Arbiter. So, path the Germ token then. We have to path a creature either way. This way just stops them from gaining life. Okay. Play Sunbaked Canyon, pass the turn. I would really like to Flicker Wisp Stoneforge Mystic. Okay, opponent suits up Flicker Wisp. Goes to combat, attacks for 5 in the air. Violin Archon. Untap. Aether Vial gonna stay on 3. We draw Skyclave Apparition. That kind of solves what I was thinking about doing. I was going to Restoration Angel Skyclave Apparition to take out Flicker Wisp, but now I can just do it this way. Go to combat, attack for 5 on the ground and 2 in the air. Opponent untaps. Restoration Angel, we can flicker Skyclave Apparition, give them a 1/1 illusion. And take out Thalia, so they just waste the equip mana. And we finally generated enough of an advantage to win. So I want Phyrexian Revokers. I probably don't need Spellskite. Phyrexian Revokers, definitely naming like Aether Vial or an equip cost or something. Mind Sensor kind of seems weak in this matchup. I mean, maybe it's not because they do search their deck with Stoneforge Mystic. I really don't know what to drop here. I'm only going to bring in 3, and I'm going to drop a Plains. Let's try that. I'm going to keep this. Opponent starts Plains Aether Vial. Oh, you know what? I realize if I name Aether Vial with Phyrexian Revoker, I Revoker my own Aether Vial as well. Oh, man. Okay, well, let's see what happens. Opponent plays Ghost Quarter into Leonin Arbiter. Take up Aether Vial. Draw a second Aether Vial. You know what? I think I still gotta do it. Because if my opponent wants to attack our mana, they now have to attack their own mana. We can still tick up Aether Vials to whatever we want. We just can't... Opponent plays a Stoneforge. Okay. Use Aether Vial's ability. Play a Plains. Play another Aether Vial. Opponent was not able to search their library with Stoneforge Mystic, which is good. Pass the turn. Opponent plays a Sunbaked Canyon and does not attack. We untap. Take up Aether Vial. Take up Aether Vial. Draw Path. Play Sunbaked Canyon, and honestly, I think we just run out Maul of the Skyclaves and start beating down. Go to combat. Because now if our opponent kills our Revoker with like a Path, we get Flicker Wisps. And these words are hard to say. I feel like I'm slurring, like Flicker Wisp. It's like I'm giving up halfway through the word because it's not real anymore. Alright, opponent was just holding Batterskull. Okay. Opponent Aether Vial, leaving it on 3. They sack Sunbaked Canyon to draw a card, play a land. They go to combat and swing with the team, that's fine. They go back up to 20, play another Aether Vial. We untap. Okay. No. Okay. Yes. We draw. Winds of Abandon. Well, my opponent doesn't have the mana, so... Path the Germ... Well... Play Flicker Wisp. If they have a path, I think I'd rather them do it now. Hit the Germ token. Go to combat. Attack for 4. Because now, I was really originally worried about them picking up Batterskull for 3 mana and then replaying it for 2 off of Stoneforge. But we have Path and we have Winds of Abandon, and really we have another Flicker Wisp, so we should win this race. Opponent plays a Sheffet Dunes. They attack for 1. They attack for 3. Okay, we go to 8. Opponent plays a Flicker Wisp. Flicker Wisp's Batterskull. We untap. Kind of wish I would stop drawing Aether Vials. So, Path, actually, Winds of Abandon, Flicker Wisp. Go to combat. Attack for 7 in the air, take them to 9. Yeah, I guess we still path the Germ token now. The problem is if my opponent can play a land and equip Batterskull, we're going to be in real trouble. I should have waited for my opponent's turn. They would have been able to equip it, but... Alright, going on to game 3. That was awkward. I think it kind of worked, though. We just drew more Aether Vials than our opponent did. Yeah, I'm not skilled with the deck, and I'm definitely not skilled with the mirror match because of it. We have no plays at all, so we have to mulligan. Okay, I can work with this. I'm going to put back a Giver of Runes. Start Plains Vial. Pass the turn. Opponent's turn. Play a Plains. Play Stoneforge. Go get Batterskull. Pass the turn. It's kind of weird that one of the, like, biggest creatures in the deck, naturally biggest creatures in the deck, is 1, an equipment, and 2, the most fragile among creatures that the deck plays. So I can either Winds of Abandon my opponent's Stoneforge Mystic, or I can put a Batterskull into play this turn. I think I like Winds of Abandon simply because we have a Thalia we can vial in. Play Plains. Winds of Abandon, Stoneforge Mystic. Vial in Thalia. If that had been a Leonin Arbiter, I think that would have been super gross. I technically missed 1 damage. I was thinking I needed to not attack with Stoneforge for some reason, but... Okay, opponent Skyclave Apparitions. Takes out Giver. Sure. We untap. Aether Vial, take it up to 3. Draw Resto. Go to combat. Attack for 2 with First Strike. Pass the turn. I think next turn I am going to tick Aether Vial up to 4, because getting another hit off of Stoneforge Mystic here is really good. Opponent plays a Flicker Wisp. They Flicker Wisp the Spirit. Okay, they give us a 1/1. Okay. Enters the battlefield, they have to target. They target Aether Vial. Put a Batterskull into play. They take Aether Vial, we untap. Draw land, which is the best draw. Go to combat. Attack and attack. Opponent is representing path and probably has it. So hit our opponent for a bunch, gain a bunch of life, pass the turn. We need to be careful if we're going to block and resto, because I think we need to save a resto for a path. We're winning the race right now, so opponent's going to have to do something. Opponent plays Stoneforge, sure. Opponent tutors up Sword of Fire and Ice, and plays an Archon of Emeria. Okay. They go to combat. They attack with Flicker Wisp. Flash in Resto. Blink Stoneforge. Get Sword of Fire and Ice. Block and kill Flicker Wisp. We don't have any creatures that can guaranteed hit our opponent this turn. We draw another Thalia. So put in a Sword of Fire and Ice. Question is, what do we equip it to? If we equip it to Resto, my opponent has to block with Archon of Emeria if they want to block. So I think that's the best bet. Go to combat. Get in for 9. Okay. Opponent blocks. They have a Sword of Fire and Ice they could play and equip, but we could chump with Thalia. Actually, they can't play and equip it because we have Thalia, unless they use Stoneforge. They play a Ghost Quarter. No attacks. We untap. Draw Maul of the Skyclaves. So play Maul. Put it on the Germ. And now we have 2 lethal flying attackers. My opponent does have 5 cards in hand, so I imagine if they've got a way to answer this, they've got a way to answer this. They put Batterskull into play, but they can't block with Batterskull. Both of our creatures fly. Unless they have Maul. Resto. Okay. So my opponent can flicker Skyclave Apparition, which they can use to take out Maul of the Skyclaves. They could take out Sword of Fire and Ice. They could take out Restoration Angel. They take out Sword of Fire and Ice. So that means they are blocking the Germ token with Restoration Angel. Otherwise they just... I guess it doesn't kill them. We gain a bunch. Pass the turn. So let's see what their plan is. If they can play Sword, equip Sword, and then have like a path for the Germ token, that's pretty good. Alright, they path. We get a land. They put Sword into play. They suit up the Germ. They hit us for 6. Actually, they just gain 6 life. We untap. Draw Skyclave Apparition. How do we do this? I can take out their Sword of Fire and Ice. This is 4 to equip. I can't take out their Batterskull. I could take out their Resto and hit them in the air. Then we have 2 ground blockers for the Germ token. They gain some life back, though, if that happens. I can take out Sword of Fire and Ice, and they gain less life, but they're still going to gain... no, I think taking out Sword of Fire and Ice is better here because we do have illusion tokens. So we'll get rid of the persistent threat. Then play Thalia. Next turn, we can suit up our Resto with Batterskull, potentially. Oh man, they have another equipment? Maul of the Skyclaves. Okay, that's a problem. Then they play Thalia. They hit us in the air for a lot. We untap. I've not forgotten about Yorion. I just don't think that it's correct to go get him yet. My opponent has no cards in. We have a 7/8 Flying Vigilance now. Alright, we can pass the turn. So if my opponent draws an Arbiter, they can take us off of equip mana for Maul. No! No! I need that. I need the lands. But if we top deck a land, we can then equip Maul and we're fine, in theory. Okay. Play a land. Voltron the Angel. Go to combat. Attack for 9 first strike, flying, lifelink, vigilance. Is this a chroma? Oh man, okay, so they chump with the Germ token. They pick up Batterskull. Okay, good plan, good plan. I like it. Opponent plays a Flicker Wisp. Probably should Flicker Wisp Resto. Our Resto. Okay, I like this. This is a very, very silly mirror matchup here. Oh, okay. So they're going to Skyclave Apparition. They can take out Restoration Angel that way. But we get a 3-3. Skyclave Apparition hits Restoration Angel, sure. Okay, we untap. Draw Tech Edge. Not really what I wanted. Play Tech Edge. I can suit up the 3-3 with the Batterskull and attack for 7 with Lifelink. But my opponent can just put Batterskull into play and chump. I can make this illusion a 5-5 with first strike and flying. I think that's probably the way to go. I guess I should have suited up with Batterskull first and then waited because my opponent can Field of Ruin my non-basic land now. There's almost too much in this game for me to keep track of because it's so many interactions that I don't normally think about. So I think their play is Field of Ruin here. I think equipping Maul is wrong. They play a land. They hit us for 6. Sure. They have 9. This will be a 9-9. Oh, crap. Alright. We untap. We draw Sword of Feast and Famine, which we can now use to... oh, wait, hang on. This is definitely wrong. One sec. Activate Stoneforge Mystic. Put Sword of Feast and Famine into play. Suit up the Illusion token, which will now have protection from the Germ token of Batterskull. Go to combat. Attack for 7 first strike in the air. And then when we untap our lands, we can equip Batterskull to it. Okay, opponent chumps with Resto. Okay, so next turn we should be able to equip Batterskull unless my opponent activates Field of Ruin, which they probably should. So much life has been created in this game. Opponent attacks us for 6. We go down to 25, they go up to 21. 5 mana. They paid for their own Arbiter? Okay, we untap. We draw. Land, perfect. Suit up the Illusion. Go to combat. Attack for a wall of keywords, 11-11 in the air. Opponent jumps with Flicker Wisp. Oh, actually, hang on. Turn off auto yields. Okay, nice. We go up to 36, pass the turn. But next turn they can't block, and they can't swing into it either. They have to have a path. Opponent should Ghost Quarter me now while I don't have any lands. Yeah, okay. Alright. I don't think they can do anything. Yeah, they pass. We untap. Draw Archon. Put Yorion into our hand. Go to combat. Swing with what kind of looks like a Sphinx of the Steel Wind if it was like twice as big as normal. Yeah, I just F6 through my turn because I didn't really think about that or care. Oh, I can still Aven Mind Sensor on my opponent's turn, though. That might matter, because I might need to equip something with Sword of Feast and Famine. Opponent plays a Sheffet Dunes, and that's the game. They equip Maul of the Skyclaves to Leon and Arbiter. Oh, I guess that's not the game, because now they can start chumping with their other creatures unless we draw a removal of some kind. So flash in Aven Mind Sensor. Untap. We draw Giver of Runes. Play Giver of Runes. Play Archon of Emeria. Go to combat. So they have one more turn of chump blocking before we just give it pro-white. And then there's nothing they can do. They chump with Leon and Arbiter. This is the mightiest Illusion Voltron I've ever played in a legitimate game of Magic, I can tell you that much. Oh man, look at him, he's at 11-11! He's got so many keywords. Look at how many keywords. Hang on. Can I move this results window? I'd really like to look at my card, please. Oh well. Alright, well we're 2-2, going into round 5, and I'll see you there. And we're back for round 5. This has been a very long league for me. Reveal Yorion. Alright, I like this. I will keep. I think this is a good Vile start. Opponent. I pronounced Vile and Vile the same way. Like, Vile as in Aether Vial, or Vile as in Vile Swarm. Or whatever it's called. Feed the Swarm. Stomping Ground. My opponent mulligan to 4. Okay. So start Plains Aether Vial. Gonna be on the lookout for a Braids this match. Opponent haggles. It's Dredge. Okay, they discard an Ox. This is not a good opener for Dredge. Opponent plays a Shriekhorn. It got a little better. Aether Vial. Tick it up. We draw Stoneforge Mystic. I think we play Thalia first. Pass the turn. Opponent plays a Bloodstained Mire. On their end step, we will Vial in a Giver of Runes. Untap, Aether Vial, tick it up. Draw Giver of Runes again. Alright, pass the... well, no, we can attack with Thalia. And we're going to Vial in Stoneforge Mystic on our opponent's turn. Archon of Emeria might actually hurt us more than help us in this matchup. Because, like, they don't really cast a lot of... well, the lands entering tapped might matter a lot. Opponent gets a Blood Crypt tapped. I'm surprised they didn't mill themselves the last turn. They mill Cathartic Reunion and Forgotten Cave. Then they milled Narcomoeba. Okay. It looks like they maybe were trying to draw a second land, and that's why they didn't mill themselves right away. Okay, opponent plays a Golgari Thug. So on our opponent's end step, we'll go ahead and Vial in Stoneforge Mystic. Let's go and get Batterskull. Good old Batterskull. I'll take Aether Vial to 3. We draw Flicker Wisp. So what I'm going to do is just immediately put in Archon of Emeria and Batterskull. I'm not going to attack this turn because I don't want to put Golgari Thug into the grave. Next turn, I can Flicker Wisp Thug away and then just swing out for a large amount. Opponent mills Silver Smote Ghoul and Ox of Agonis. No charge counters left on Shriekhorn. Okay. Opponent passes, we untap. Aether Vial gonna stay on 3. We draw Path. Path makes this easier. Just go ahead and Path Thug. Now we can start attacking with Reckless Abandon. Okay. Pass the turn. Yeah, without a very large Dredge, my opponent basically has no chance. They have to hit like enough. Okay, yeah, they're just dead. So on their end step, Vial in Flicker Wisp. And we'll be on to round 2. So here I do want Forge Tenders for big Conflagrates. I think that might be important. I would also like Rest in Peace very much. So we're going to drop the Spell Skites. What else do we drop? Giver of Runes might be worse than Forge Tender, just altogether. Then I'm going to cut a Plains and I think a Resto. Try it like that. Oh man, I wish I still did meme videos. Maybe I should. I just had an idea for Death and Taxes meme video. Like, are you sick of playing against Dredge? And call the law offices of Kano and Yugoro. We'll make sure that all of your opponent's graveyard bank accounts get audited. Like, I really should do something like that. Okay, the first hand had no lands in it. This one, this one's also kind of iffy. It's very slow. I'd like to have something a little bit faster. Okay, I think this works. We'll put back Sword, we'll put back Flicker Wisp. I'm not thrilled by this, but, I mean, I don't want to go lower than 5. Opponent also mulled to 4. Opponent's luck is not much better than mine. Actually, I think it's my luck is not much better than my opponent's, because their luck is worse than mine currently. Alright, start Burton Forge Tender. Pass the turn. Opponent plays a Stomping Ground untapped. We untap. We draw Stoneforge Mystic, go to combat, get in for 1. No blocks. Opponent goes down to 17. Play Sunbaked Canyon. Play Stoneforge Mystic. Let's go and get a Batterskull. Alright, opponent's turn. I guess opponent is lucky we don't have a mana denial hand. We draw another Forge Tender. Go to combat, attack for 1. Pass the turn. Stoneforge Mystic. Put in Batterskull. We untap and draw Aether Vial. Play Stoneforge Mystic. Go get Sword of Fire and Ice, because I don't want to force my opponent to discard. They want cards in that graveyard, and I'm telling you, we're auditing in them. They're trying to hide them in their hand now. They're so scared of the death and taxes. Okay, opponent has an Ancient Grudge. It only prevents damage. It does not grant protection, but neither would Giver of Runes, so that's fine. Okay, opponent untaps. Cathartic Reunion, discarding Thug and Ox. They dredge Thug, Loam, and Stinkweed Imp. So lots of cards in the graveyard now. We untap and draw Winds of Abandon. It's probably a little late for Aether Vial, but I kind of feel like I need the mana. So I'm going to play it now, even though it feels late. Play another Forge Tender, go to combat. Because if my opponent takes their... No, they're going to definitely dredge Loam, and they're definitely going to cast Loam. I only have a Mountain in their grave, though. Oh, they're going to dredge Stinkweed Imp, and then they're going to cast Loam. Like 100%. Okay? So opponent Creeping Chills us. Which means they're getting back 3 Silver Smote Ghouls, 2 Prized Amalgams, and potentially an Ox. Which I don't think we can beat, actually. I played this a little bit wrong, and yeah, they're playing Ox now. Okay. I'm just going to concede. My opponent's going to have like 5 3-power creatures, and that's more than we can deal with. Alright, run it back. Maybe they won't expect the Rest in Peace. I'll play first. Reveal Yorion. 2 Rest in Peace, no land, got a mulligan. Double Aether Vial, 1, 2, 3. I think I'm okay with this. Although if my opponent does have Ancient Grudge, we are probably boned. I'm going to put back Path. Plains Vial. Opponent also mulled to 5. Pass the turn. Opponent starts Blood Crypt tapped. Aether Vial, ticking up to 1. Play Aether Vial. Pass the turn. Opponent shocks Blood Crypt. Cathartic Reunion. Discarding double Stinkweed Imp. Alright, we are probably in for a world of hurt. Because that's one of the best starts they can have. Put in Forge Tender. Untap. Tick up Vial. Tick up Vial. Draw Archon. So, pass the turn. And I think we're going to Vial in Thalia. Maybe I should do that now before my opponent has the ability to cast anything else. Just put Thalia in play. Pass the turn. Opponent dredges a Creeping Chill, puts a Smiting Helix into the yard. That's also scary. Because Smiting Helix is not Forge Tenderable. 2 mana for a Haggle? Or a Shriekhorn? I think it's a Haggle. Oh, it's an Ox. Well then. Opponent pitches their hand and gets 3 fresh cards. Dredges Stinkweed, dredges Stinkweed. Alright, well, I think we lost, because, not sure we can come back from that. Opponent attacks for 4, that's fine. Oh, they didn't get a bunch of creatures, but they will have a Dark Blast. We untap. Vial ticking up. Vial ticking up. We draw Stoneforge Mystic. Alright, pass the turn, and we have to make the choice between Skyclave Apparition and Archon of Emeria. Opponent did not dredge Loam. It looks like they dredged Dark Blast. Presumably because they only have 2 mana and none of it's green. Opponent goes to combat. Attacks with the team. Block here. Yep, we're going to go for the Skyclave Apparition to take out that Prized Amalgam. We take 1. Okay, now we Vial in Stoneforge Mystic. And we'll get Batterskull, even though we can't really do anything with it. Okay, we untap, upkeep, and say no to the Vial triggers. Draw Sword of Feast and Famine. Go to combat. Attack for 4. Opponent goes down to 20. Pass the turn. Opponent is going to Dark Blast Forge Tender. Okay. They untap. What do they dredge? Or do they not dredge? They could dredge Dark Blast and kill Thalia. Looks like that's exactly what their plan is. They could cast another Ox as well. Yep, they're going to cast the Ox. Okay. In that case, we're going to Vial in Archon of Emeria. Ox is going to resurrect the Amalgams. Going for a big dredge. They have 6 cards left in their deck. Oh, crap. That's what I was hoping not to see, is that Creeping Chill. Yep, alright. Always yield, whatever. When it goes to combat, we're going to chump with the Stoneforge. My opponent's end step, with their million prized amalgam triggers and their silver smoke dual triggers. Isn't Containment Priest modern legal? I mean, I feel like I should be running Containment Priest. Wasn't that Modern Horizons? Didn't that become a thing? So Violin Stoneforge. Go pick up, I guess Sword of Fire and Ice. Aether Vials stay where they are. And I think if we put Batterskull into play, we might barely stay alive, but we lose everything else if we do that. Alright. Pass the turn. And it just draws naturally. They're going to Dark Blast Thalia. Put in Batterskull. Yeah, I'm like 99% sure we're just dead. Which is unfortunate. We didn't draw land until turn 6, and we didn't draw the right stuff in general. So even on max prevent, which looks something like this, I think we're still just die by at least 1. Yup. Oh well. Well, at least we won our play points back. I'm going to talk about the deck list really quick, but I'm almost hour 3 of this recording. So, first off, number 1. If a non-token creature would enter the battlefield and it wasn't cast, exile it. Now, I understand that this is not Aether Vialable, because it would exile itself if you did. But it is only 2 mana, and it seems like it would be really good in sideboard, specifically for Dredge. Or for an opposing taxes deck, which we did run into. It's not impossible. I understand that the deck's set up the way it is for a reason, and I'm no expert, so I'm not going to judge it too harshly for how it's set up. This deck could have 5-0'd in the hands of a better pilot. Most of the games we lost, actually all of the games we lost, we won at least one. All of the rounds we lost, we won at least 1 game in the match. That's what I'm trying to say. Why is that so difficult? Anyway, the deck's solid. Death and Taxes is an archetype. It's actually quite respectable in Modern. It's not an archetype that I favor too much. And I'm wondering if... I don't know if the mana base would be too painful. I don't know how the math works out for this. But maybe drop 4 more planes for the other white-black sackland? Maybe? But that might be going too deep, and I don't know how much Blood Moon's running around in the format. There's a lot of unknowns here. Yeah, this is not necessarily my cup of tea, but I am trying to learn it because it's interesting, and I need to get some variation in my content. So, let me know if you liked this video, and if you did, please leave a like, drop a comment, subscribe to the channel if you're so inclined, and remember you can follow me on Twitch, same username over there as you find me on here. I stream Wednesdays at 6 p.m. Mountain Time, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, usually a little earlier. Gonna update that when it becomes more regular, but anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!